Good morning everyone, and thank you all for joining us here at the launch of the SDLP Manifesto for the Westminster election. This is an incredibly exciting time for us, because this election is like almost no other in a generation. It could result in the SDLP holding a position of great influence and power within the next government. And we all know that with great power comes great responsibility. I believe the SDLP is the only party capable of seeing the bigger picture, putting the interests of people first, and understanding what it takes to deliver a better way for everyone living in Northern Ireland. I believe the road to success lies within this document and within our candidates. That is why I am delighted to be standing here today to introduce not only this manifesto, but also to introduce the people who will help to deliver the New Deal for the North. Please, let all our candidates in the Westminster election of 2015 stand up so we can show them our appreciation for all their hard work. Let's hear from some of them directly. First, let me introduce one of our new faces standing for election in Southampton, a lady of great integrity and tenacity, Roisin Lynch.
Thank you very much, Nicola. Good morning. I'm delighted to be here this morning with so many SDLP colleagues and activists. I have to say, in deciding to enter the race for Westminster, I had hoped that it would be an interesting experience. I knew it would take up a huge amount of time, and I expected to meet a lot of old friends and make new acquaintances. But what I had suspected was actually confirmed, that I would need a lot of old shoes to be worn in. But I can say without fear of contradiction that with every door knocked, it was an investment in our future. With every vote that we earn across Northern Ireland, we advance the cause of a better, a more prosperous and a shared future for all our people. That was and is my motivating factor and what drives me in this campaign in Southampton and for all of us across Northern Ireland. I am inspired by the people in this room, the elected representatives, who bring the hopes and dreams of our people into the council chambers, to the Assembly at Stormont and to the House of Commons. I am delighted this morning to introduce our MP for Foyle, first elected in 2005, then in 2010, and I am totally sure he'll be re-elected this year. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Mark Durkan.
Thank you very much, Roisin, and thank all of you for your attendance here this morning. This election is going to be about outcomes. I know that the media, when they look at these things, talk about who's going to win in particular constituencies, what are the margins going to be, as though it's just about the results. And those of us who are closely involved in politics love living and gossiping and speculating about results. But the real issue is going to be, what are the outcomes going to be for the next 5 years of this Parliament? And big things hinge on the results in this election in terms of those potential outcomes. We are offering people a prospectus in this manifesto that means that people here in the North can take a progressive stand behind a party that takes its seats in the House of Commons so that it can take a stand on those issues of vital concern to protect interests and rights here, but also to address issues that are of concern to many people here, that affect people in other parts of the world as well, because people here aren't only obsessed with their own needs, with their own rights, important as those are. I know as a sitting MP how many people from right across the north get in touch with us about issues of global justice, issues of international environmental responsibility, and issues of international tax justice as well. And the fact is, SDLP MPs have been to the fore in acting in Westminster on those fronts. Ask any of the organisations that have been working and campaigning on those issues who are among the go-to MPs in Westminster on those issues, and they will all tell you that the SDLP are among the go-to MPs on those issues. And those will be issues into the next Parliament as well, not least a key principle like the tax dodging bill, which we will be there to help take forward. So while some other parties across the water are arguing around the detail of some of what they will do within and around tax thresholds and some of the adjustments that they might make to non-dom tax, we are a party that are putting forward the fundamental platform of a tax dodging bill, and have hosted all of the preliminary meetings towards the tax dodging bill in Westminster in the last Parliament, and we will be drivers in taking that concept forward into the next Parliament as well. Similarly, on issues that matter to families here, we are not going to just get carried along on the debate that's going on between the Tories and Labour as to who has the better promise in terms of childcare for 3- and 4-year-olds. We are a party that are fundamentally involved in the push for real early years intervention, the whole drive around a priority focus on the first 1,000 days from conception right through to the age of 2 as the point of intervention that will make the biggest difference on life chances, that will change, because in changing those early experiences, that's when you then change really what people can have as life expectations. So when we go there, it's not just how we make up the numbers and where we fit in with other parties. We go there with distinctive and proud and active values, and we take the initiatives and we take the stands. We don't just wait to see how we line up with others. And that makes us distinct from other parties, from many other parties in Westminster. It makes us distinct from the other parties here. Because when it comes to taking a stand on issues like welfare, we don't say we're going to stop Tory cuts just by sticking leaflets through people's doors to try to mislead them in those terms. We stand up and we oppose Tory cuts right from their inception, right from their first legislative draft in Westminster and the whole way through. And we're the one party, again from here, that consistently spoke up against the bedroom tax and all of the other aspects of welfare reform, and voted against the welfare reform bill at every stage, even whenever the official opposition didn't vote against the welfare reform bill. At every stage, the SDLP, on a point of principle and our duty of careful and diligent representation on behalf of people that we represent, we did. And similarly last year, whenever the welfare cap was introduced, not to be confused with the benefits cap, whenever the welfare cap was introduced, we identified that even though Labour were voting with that welfare cap, and even though Alliance and the DUP also voted with that welfare cap, we identified that that posed a grave risk to people in the north in particular, because that welfare cap, that budgetary tool, would become a cuts weapon in the hands of the Treasury and would be used to lock in cuts and to impose choices on the Executive and the Assembly here. So at a time when we were trying to negotiate with others some discretion, some way of mitigating welfare reform, the welfare cap was going to undercut us in future years in terms of the quality of discretion that we would actually have. And then similarly this year, whenever the vote was taken on the budget charter, essentially to set the precept that there would be 30 billion of cuts going into the next term. And again, unfortunately, the opposition voted along with the government. The SDLP voted against that. Nigel Dodds voted with the government on that. So much for the DUP being there and alert to people's interests and looking out and opposing austerity. When you look at the actual record, you will see that our record is clear and is consistent. And so that's what we take into the next Parliament. And so when all the speculation is in around the hung Parliament, one thing you can be sure is the SDLP aren't going to be very hung up about where we stand on individual votes. On a budget by budget, bill by bill, clause by clause, amendment by amendment, principle by principle basis, we will deliver on the stand on the principles that we have outlined in this manifesto and the principles that are clearly reflected in our record, both in Parliament and in the Assembly, because in the Assembly we have followed through on things like welfare reform on the exact same stand that we have taken at Westminster. We're not at sixes and sevens saying different things in different places in the way that other parties have. So if people want consistency, if people want clarity, if people want a party that cannot be bought on one issue and then has to stay bought on another issue, the party to vote for in this election is the SDLP.
Friends and colleagues in the SDLP, this manifesto is our bold commitment to fight austerity and build prosperity. At Westminster, we want to put the focus on investing in the economy and our people, taking an approach that is based on increasing infrastructure investment, guaranteeing wage growth and developing progressive taxation measures. We want a new deal for the North, a long-term, sustainable economic compact with Westminster that lets us take our own future in our own hands to make this region a success. We need this to build an economy that works for hard-working families and provides opportunity to encourage our young people that our future lies here. The DUP are tripping over themselves to carry David Cameron over the threshold of number 10. And Sinn Féin, they stand on the sidelines making a lot of noise, but having absolutely no impact. Unlike others, we will represent you where it matters, and we can run on our record. During the last Parliament, the SDLP fought the draconian Tory welfare agenda that has damaged our economy. We want investment to provide good jobs for good wages. We fought to protect the health service from further privatisation so that you can have peace of mind that your family's health is in safe hands. We have worked to ensure that the UK government follow through on their commitment to the new meningitis B vaccine so that more families are spared the tragedy of this terrible disease. And all three SDLP MPs voted to introduce standardised cigarette packaging in the interests of public health and curbing the number of young people who get addicted to smoking. We campaign to protect winter